there's really nothing. There's no space, there's no time, there's no matter, there's no energy. It's nothing but the potential to exist. And out of that bursts the universe.
Well, where did it take place? It took place over there, it took place over there. Where did it take place? Actually, it took place everywhere, because the universe itself was extremely small at that time.
It's impossible to describe the moment of creation in human language. All we know is that from what may have been nothing, we go to a state of almost infinite density and infinite temperature and infinite violence.
Well, then who did create the heavens and the earth?
Why do you use the word who? You see, you immediately beg the question by using the word who.
Well, then how did it get created?
Well, by a very slow process.
Well, how did it start?
Nobody knows how it started. We know the kind of event that it must have been. We know the sort of event that must have happened for the origin of life.
And what was that?
It was the origin of the first self-replicating molecule.
Right, and how did that happen?
I told you we don't know.
So you have no idea how it started?
No, nor has anybody.
Nor has anyone else. What do you think is the possibility that intelligent design might turn out to be the answer to some issues in genetics or in evolution?
It could come about in the following way. It could be that at some earlier time, somewhere in the universe, a civilization evolved by probably some kind of Darwinian means to a very, very high level of technology and designed a form of life that they seeded onto perhaps this planet. Now, that is a possibility and an intriguing possibility. And I suppose it's possible that you might find evidence for that if you look at the details of biochemistry, molecular biology. You might find a signature of some sort of designer. You might find evidence for that if you look at the details of biochemistry, molecular biology. You might find a signature of some sort of designer, and that designer could well be a higher intelligence from elsewhere in the universe.
An early example comes from the great astronomer Johannes Kepler, who was obsessed with understanding a different number, why the sun is 93 million miles away from the Earth. And he worked for decades trying to explain this number, but he never succeeded. Why do we humans find ourselves on a planet at this particular distance instead of any of the other possibilities? And again, that's a question we can answer. Those planets which are much closer to a star like the sun would be so hot that our form of life wouldn't exist. And those planets that are much farther away from the star, well, they're so cold that again, our form of life would not take hold. So we find ourselves on a planet at this particular distance simply because it yields conditions vital to our form of life.
Regardless of whether or not to believe in God, most scientists agree that the cosmic codes appear to exist. Everything in the universe is determined by the fundamental forces of nature. The strength of those forces are characterized by numbers called fundamental constants that are so sensitive that if they change by just a little bit, the universe as we know it wouldn't be here.
It seems, and we don't completely understand why, that the laws of physics laws of cosmology, laws of how the universe evolved, seem to be very special. Of course they're special. Everybody would expect them to be special, but they're special in a way that's unexpected. They seem to be special in the way that is just very, very conducive to our own existence.
For example, if the rate of expansion of the universe right after the Big Bang had changed by 1 part in a quintillion is 1 with 18 zeros after it, the universe would continue to expand or collapse back on itself, and none of this would be possible. To illustrate just how small a number 1 part in a quintillion is, imagine all the grains of sand on this beach. In fact, imagine all the grains of sand in all the world's beaches. That number's probably somewhere around a quintillion. In this analogy, if all that sand represented the rate of expansion of the universe right after the Big Bang, how many grains of sand would I need to add or subtract to wreck the universe? Just 1 grain, 1 in a quintillion. That's how precise things had to be for us to be here.
Everything seems to be almost on a knife edge, that if you were to change the rules of physics, the laws of physics, even a little bit, the world as we know it wouldn't exist. I don't reject the possibility that there may have been an intelligence that in some way or another was involved in the creation of the universe. I don't reject it, not at all. I simply ask if it's true. How do you describe it?
Could the universe be created by something created? Well, I would argue as an ultimate explanation for how the universe began, this is illogical and irrational. The universe could not be as a result of another universe, for example, or something else that was created because of the absurdity of an infinite regress. Imagine this universe, universe 1, being as a result of another universe, universe 2, and universe 2 being as a result of another universe, universe 3, and this went on ad infinitum. We would never have the universe today. Hence, the Islamic philosopher and thinker, Dr. Jafar Idris, summarizes this point. He says, there would be no series of actual causes, but only a series of non-existence. The fact, however, is that there are existence around us. Therefore, the ultimate cause must be something other than temporal causes. So I would argue that the final possible explanation, which is the universe was created by something uncreated, is the most rational explanation. And the philosopher Abraham Varghese, in the appendix to Professor Anthony Flou's book, There Is a God, explains this conclusion in a simple but forceful way. He writes, now, clearly, theists and atheists can agree on one thing. If anything exists at all, there must be something preceding it that always existed. How did this eternally existing reality come to be? The answer is that it never came to be. It always existed. Take your pick, the God or the universe. Something always existed.
What I mean? Suppose that you are a professional modeler who uses a strong modeling software and creates a project in which there are people with consciousness. It means that the models that you have created are having the power of intellect, and you put a test for them to find you. Now, if you think logically, they have only two options to find you or to prove your existence in order to accept you as their creator. The first option for them is to discover you or to see you. But of course you don't want that, because it is a test, and if you show yourself to them, then the test becomes meaningless. And logically they can discover you, because you are out of this created project. So if they can't discover you, it doesn't mean that you don't exist. But the second option is that you send them signs and evidences, and you also give them the power of intellect. They can find you through those evidences and their logic. It is like you have given them some tips for this test. And if they still don't accept your existence through those evidences, then it means that they are arrogant.
That when it comes to religion, you need to dismiss certain ideas. For instance, like merely following whatever your ancestors believe just because it seems familiar or because you love them so much or can't imagine how they could have been wrong. I'm sure that all of you do some things, if not many things, differently from your parents. So how is it that they could be wrong about those things and not about religion? There is simply no compelling reason to assume that whatever your parents and ancestors believed was the truth, and it also does not make any reasonable sense just to believe and take a leap of faith without any sort of reasonable justification. And what sort of reasoning would lead one to conclude that the true religion should make you rich, or that by merely believing in a particular person or thing you will get eternal life? Of course, one of the favorite reasons for justifying a choice of religion is that someone started following this religion, it changed their life, and they're happy. This actually does make some sense, since there are some good reasons to believe that this is what the true religion should be. But the problem here is that lots of other people make the same claim about their different religious experiences. It seems that we have been created to be religious. It's part of our nature. If we don't follow one of the standard religions, we'll soon invent one. So some religion will always make us happier than none. So again, just claiming your religion is true because it changed your life can't be on its own a sound criterion, because then other religions must also be true because they too have changed people's lives. In fact, even someone who has decided to believe that there is no creator at all might make the same claim that he or she used to follow a religion. Now they don't, and they are more happy and free.
Las afirmaciones politeístas y panteístas del hinduismo están desacreditadas, a la luz de hechos ya mencionados sobre la naturaleza de Dios y la creación del universo. El cristianismo comparte un problema similar. Por supuesto, muchos cristianos presentarían los mismos argumentos para la existencia del Creador como aquí, pero luego van a decir que Jesús, un ser limitado, finito, necesitado, era Dios. El problema aquí es claro. Como racionalmente puede ser que cualquier cosa sea dos opuestos completos al mismo tiempo? ¿Cómo puede el finito también ser infinito al mismo tiempo? ¿Cómo puede ser algo autosuficiente, innecesitado, eterno y temporal, tanto común, como único, uno, y muchos, todos al mismo tiempo? Esto es más bien como decir, por ejemplo, que un círculo se convirtió en un cuadrado, pero seguía siendo un círculo. Se podría concebir la idea de tomar la línea de un círculo y forzarla a formar un cuadrado, pero por supuesto, simplemente deja de ser un círculo. O uno podría poner el círculo en el cuadrado, o el cuadrado en el círculo, pero no puede ser un cuadrado y un círculo al mismo tiempo. Esto es por definición una imposibilidad, y ustedes nunca pueden traer un argumento razonado para una imposibilidad, así que esta es una afirmación que nunca se puede probar. En cuanto al budismo, no hay mucho sobre el creador. Esto deja el budismo más como una filosofía que una religión, y esto viene con sus propios problemas, a saber, que las explicaciones para el propósito de la vida, la razón del sufrimiento, y el gran desconocido de la otra vida, estas son las ideas de un hombre, y no de Dios. Así que nos quedamos con el judaísmo y el islam, ya que ambos tienen conceptos monoteístas, pero el judaísmo es más una religión étnica, en lugar de universal como el islam. El judaísmo es grande si naces de una mujer judía, no tan grande si no lo eres. Es difícil de creer que la guía sabia del creador es solo para ellos, y no para ti. Así que incluso si fuera cierto, entonces la mayoría de nosotros tendríamos que descartarlo como irrelevante de todos modos. Así que el judaísmo es más de tipo racista de religión cuando se trata de recibir la guía divina.
They say that this universe came into being with a Big Bang, the Big Bang theory. Who says that? The most learned men of science, astronomers. Allah says, أَوَلَمْ يَرَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. This is, do not the unbelievers see? These atheists, these agnostics, the people who deny the existence of God, can't they see? In other words, Allah expects them to see, to be able to see, to witness. أَوَلَمْ يَرَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَنَّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ كَانَتَ رَتْقًا. That the heavens and the earth were joined together as one unit of creation. فَفَتَقْنَاهُمَا. And he split them asunder. Who is he talking to? Who is he addressing? Kafir. Which kafir? The Bedouins of 1400 years ago? No. He is talking to the men of science, men of learning, who are now expounding to the world the theory of creation.
Of flowing water on the surface of Mars, this finding, it's a game changer. Now, water raises hope that the cold, dry, so-called red planet may sustain life.
Scientists at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory say new images from the surface of Mars may hold evidence that flowing water exists on the planet. This means a lot for our quest for life outside of planet Earth.
If it's confirmed, the finding could help immensely in the search for other forms of life in our solar system.
Is to find flowing liquid water which can one day perhaps sustain life. To get life off the ground, what do you need? 3 things. 1, energy, like sunlight. 2, organic chemicals. 3, liquid water.
أَوَلَمْ يَرَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَنَّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ كَانَتَا رَتْقًا فَفَتَقْنَاهُمَا وَجَعَلْنَا مِنَ الْمَاءِ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ حَيٍّ أَفَلَا يُؤْمِنُونَ.
And Edwin Hubble sat there at this very big telescope night after night studying the heavens. And he found that the stars are moving apart. The stars are moving apart. And He wasn't sure why, but it was clear that the stars are moving farther and farther apart all the time.
The distant galaxies were all rushing away from us, establishing that space itself is stretching, it's expanding.
Like a balloon. When you blow, it gets bigger and bigger. Something like that is happening in the skies, in the heavens. These galaxies, they're receding from us at a faster and faster speed.
That means the universe is expanding. The Quran mentioned 14 years ago in Surah Dhariyat, chapter number 51, verse number 47, that we have created the vastness of space. The Arabic word musiyun means vastness or the expanding universe.
Allah mentions facts and points in the Quran that were humanly impossible to know at the time and era of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And all of you are familiar with some examples of these. And the most clear example in my mind is the description of the human embryo. How Allah described the evolution of the human embryo from the sperm and the zygote, from this small little clinging thing. Allah calls a child in the womb, Allah calls it that which hangs. Al-alaq. خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ عَلَقٍ. No human being knew that an embryo hangs from the womb of the mother. Nobody knew this until 300 years ago. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls it that which hangs. It's a hanging thing because it is clinging to the embryo of the mother.
يا أيها الناس إن كنتم في ريب من البعث فإنا خلقناكم من تراب ثم من نطفة ثم من علقة ثم من مضغة مخلقة وغير مخلقة لنبين لكم ونقر في الأرحام ما نشاء.
Intensive studies of the Quran and Hadith in the last 4 years have revealed a system for classifying human embryos that is amazing since it was recorded in the 7th century AD. Little was known about the staging and classification of human embryos until the 20th century. For this reason, the descriptions of the human embryo in the Quran cannot be based on scientific knowledge in the 7th century. The only reasonable conclusion is that these descriptions were revealed to Muhammad from God. He could not have known such details because he was an illiterate man with absolutely no scientific training.
For a long time, it was thought that the sense of feeling and pain was dependent on the brain. However, it has been discovered that there are pain receptors present in the skin. Without these pain receptors, a person would not be able to feel pain. Consider the following verse on pain. We shall send those who reject our revelations to the hellfire. When their skins have been burned away, we shall replace them with new ones so that they may continue to feel the pain. God is Almighty, All-Wise. God tells the people who reject His message that when they are in hell and their skins are burnt off so they can't feel any pain, He will give them new skins so that they continue to feel the pain. The Quran makes it clear that pain is dependent upon the skin. The discovery of pain receptors in the skin is a fairly recent discovery for biology.
I believe that everything that has been recorded in the Quran 1400 years ago must be truth. That can be proved by the scientific way. Since the Prophet Muhammad could neither read nor write, Muhammad must be a messenger who relayed this truth, which was revealed to him as an enlightenment by the one who is knowledgeable Creator. This Creator must be God or Allah. Therefore, I think this is the time to say, La ilaha illallah. There is no God to worship except Allah. Muhammad, Rasulullah. Muhammad is messenger of Allah.
Exactly where they stand. So the Quran happens to become this book that is almost like a guidebook that tells you exactly how to wear, when to wash, what to eat, how to behave, when to pray.